Hello everybody, Mitzi Cruz here, host of Lincoln Live. Today I have a very special treat for all of you parents or all of you grandparents, caregivers, anybody who has ever dealt with the whole IEP process or had a child that had some exceptional needs that needed to be addressed. So my guest today is Laraine Hutcherson, and she has started a phenomenal organization, My Ears to Hear, and they are all about helping parents navigate this special needs system and just kind of being advocates and just helping parents with a sense of community so they can get through the process. So Laraine, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
And can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a Sacramento area resident, born and raised in the area. I have 4 kids. 2 of them have special needs, 2 of them are adopted, and I found myself as a parent with kids who had just extraordinary circumstances, and I have been working on ways to navigate that path that has been presented, and it's been quite the journey.
And so how old are your kiddos that do have special needs?
So my special needs kids are ages 10 and 11.
Gotcha. And I understand that you actually adopted through foster care, correct?
I did. We adopted through foster care. In fact, at the end of the process on adoption day, my youngest had been born 6 days prior, and we had 4 kids under the age of 5. So that was quite the year.
Oh, well, bless you. Because, you know, I mean, just really taking a step back and really admiring the fact that not only would you take on a child through the foster care system, but also just adopt them and make them legally your family. It's just huge. And so, you know, I want to thank you and commend you for that. That's great.
I can't imagine my life without them.
You're right.
They're amazing. Absolutely.
So tell us about this phenomenal organization, My Ears to Hear.
Well, for those of you who have kids with special needs, you might have realized that it is a journey that is not simple. It can be super, super complicated. It can also be really isolating. Yeah. It's hard to talk to people about some of the things you experience with your kids when they have no reference point. And so along the way, I thought, gosh, I could really use a support group. You know, I could use a group of people who get what I'm going through. And since that didn't exist, I decided that I would create my own. So we went through the process. We set up a nonprofit 501c3 organization. And that's one of the things that we do. We provide support groups to families. And while I host them, they're my favorite thing to do every month. I get as much out of them, I hope, as everybody who joins us. So it's been wonderful.
So how long ago did My Ears to Hear get started?
So we officially started 2 years ago. We pulled together a board of directors. We are an all-volunteer organization, so we operate on a small budget, and we do what we can with what we have.
So I understand that your organization has needs. Can you tell us about those needs?
Oh, sure. Well, as all nonprofits do. Right. I mean, we all need money to pay things. We've done a lot of things to keep our overhead low by working with volunteers. We have, we're all virtual, so we don't have a physical address, which saves in those areas. So yes, we do some fundraising, but we try to make our fundraisers as meaningful to the families that we work with as possible.
Sure.
So that is important to us. So we're always looking for volunteers who help our support groups offer childcare, because we know how very hard it can be as a parent with special needs kids to get childcare. So we have an amazing group of people who come, but we're always looking for more volunteers because we'd also like to continue to have more locations where we meet so more people can participate.
So what are the qualifications for somebody who wanted to get involved as far as providing childcare?
Well, to start with, we go by referrals. Because of the type of kids that we work with. We also ask potential volunteers to come and, you know, check out what we're doing, make sure that it's a good fit for them. We'll get information on their background and some references. So it can be a little bit of a complicated process, but we just want to make sure that our kids are in wonderful hands.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
And so where are you guys meeting currently?
So we have 2 locations. Our support groups meet once a month in Roseville at the Hampton Inn and Suites, and thank you to them for helping us make that happen. That is off of Douglas and North Sunrise, right at 80. And then we also meet in Sacramento. We rent some of the educational building at a church called the Arden Christian Church in Sacramento, and we have a meeting once a month there as well.
So I know that the need is so tremendous. As a parent who has navigated the IEP process myself, there's a lot of information that may be presented to you during the IEP that you're not necessarily familiar with. I know for me, one thing that was huge was as these goals were being set for my children, just figuring out who was going to be accountable for implementing and for measuring those goals. And so a lot of times I feel like during the IEP process, as a parent, if you're not sure which questions to ask or how to advocate properly for your child, which it isn't by no fault of your own,
normal. Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Then you go from one IEP to another 6 months later or a year later, however frequently you have an IEP, and maybe none of those goals have actually been accomplished because there wasn't any accountability as far as who was actually going to implement that goal. So is that something that you guys talk about, or kind of how to navigate that?
Absolutely. The amount of things that we talk about is kind of overwhelming to discuss in one meeting, but
Sure.
One of the best things about the support groups, and in fact, we have an email chain so everyone has access to share information. We talk about IEP meetings. We talk about the fact that if you don't see what you want in your IEP meeting, please don't sign it. Walk
Right.
away, take it with you, look it over. We talk about how to ask for measurable goals. Who's going to do the measuring? Who's going to do the implementing? We have a lot of families who haven't even gotten an IEP. They're struggling, their kids struggling, and they don't even know that they can ask for one. They don't know that the district is required to do an evaluation if they requested in writing.
Right.
So there are so many pieces of the process that people are unaware of. And so one of the things that I love about our support groups and just the organization in general is getting that information out there. I get a lot of phone calls from people, I just got a diagnosis, or I think I've got a problem, where do I start?
Right.
And so we get them started, and then they show up to support group, and then they ask the group, and the group has so many wonderful ideas. And there's no perfect path to take. There's no one right answer. I don't know everything. I'm grateful for the community that we've built, but there is a lot of great information if you have a community to reach out to.
Absolutely. I think, with one of my children, when I did identify that there was an issue that needed to be addressed, I had actually gone to the school and was told that my child wouldn't qualify because there was no diagnosis at that time, which was completely inaccurate. So I had to actually escalate to the head of special education and have that conversation, and then we were able to get that IEP in place and ultimately help get those supports in place. So again, at the time I worked for a gal who had 2 special needs children, and so she was there to give me that information to help. And I'm not, I'm not a stupid person, right? As we're educated, we're great parents.
It's an unknown experience.
Right.
There's no manual for this.
No.
There's no handbook for a special needs parent. I wish there were.
Right.
It'd probably be insanely enormous. But it's complicated for the best of us. And being an advocate, as we are for our children, is probably the biggest challenge we face. And figuring out what to advocate for and who to talk to and how to do that, it's very hard.
Yeah. So it's incredible what you guys are doing. I feel like there's a lot of parents out there that I'm sure are taking advantage of the service that you provide, that feel overwhelmingly blessed to have you. And then for those parents, I'm sure there's a ton of parents that are watching right now that maybe see something that's a little delayed with their child, or not really sure some behaviors, and not really sure where to start. So why don't you give everybody your information, and they can connect. And
Yes. First of all, I would always invite you to our website, www.myerstohere.org. A 2 instead of the word 2, the number 2. Check us out. All the contact information is on there. You can email us, you can call us, write us a letter if you want to. We also have information about our support groups on there if you're interested in those. And really, we're here as a resource to help you connect to resources. EARS and My Ears to Hear stands for Education, Awareness, Resources, and Services. And that's what we're here to do. We're trying to educate families, bring about awareness of what people are going through, help them find resources and services to meet their kids' needs.
That's phenomenal. And being all volunteer based, I mean, there's no executive director that's working full time to make all this happen. Right. I mean, you guys all have full-time jobs, full-time careers, full-time parents.
Yes, but the people who are involved are amazing. Other special needs parents, grandparents of special needs kids, teachers who are just motivated by the cause. We have a wonderful board of directors who works really hard to make these things happen. So we're thrilled. We're excited to grow and offer more services to the community. Our goal is really just to connect people with what they need for their kids.
Oh, that is so great. I can't say enough about that. I wish you guys were around when I was navigating that process years ago.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to continue to reach out to more people. I think that, like I said, I started it because I needed it. I started it because I found, there are 100,000 resources, but how do you figure out what's right for you? How do you figure out what's right for your kid?
Yeah.
And the community. The days with special needs kids can be really hard.
Right.
There are some days where you just feel broken by the process, where you're fighting so hard and your kid is struggling so much. And I cannot tell you what it's like to sit in a room with people who are going through that. And the one thing I will say is they absolutely have the best sense of humor of anyone I've ever met.
Right.
They've figured out how to cope in such positive ways. But I mean, there are tears, absolutely, at times. There is laughter. It is a very complicated process. So when you sit in a room of people who get it, it's indescribable.
Right.
It's a pretty amazing feeling.
Yeah.
So, and we hope that people walk away feeling encouraged.
Well, and the truth is more and more of our kiddos are being affected. So this is not an issue that's going to go away anytime soon. And I won't go into my theories or anything like that. That's not what this episode is about. But the truth is, it's becoming more and more prevalent with every single
Well, and
year.
We talk about more. One of the things that we are really poignant about is making sure people know that in our group of special needs, we include mental health disorders. Both of my children are diagnosed with mental health disorders. There is not much out there and available for those kiddos. There is still a developing understanding of what those mental health disorders look like and mean for children in school.
Right.
It is harder to get resources for kids with mental health disorders than some other diagnoses.
Right.
So we want everyone to know that within the umbrella of the people we serve, mental health disorders are absolutely included.
Yes.
And this is a place for you too.
That is awesome. And I know we had talked offline about some upcoming events.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, we're working on a new meetup where we have what we're calling community care conversations. We are partnering with another nonprofit called NICU Family Alliance. And what we're trying to do is to get a little more up close and personal information with some resources. There are a lot of things, from Medi-Cal representatives to Alta Regional representatives to therapy programs, psychiatry programs, to just navigating Social Security disability and a variety of things. So our goal is to have quarterly meetings where we'll have 2 to 3 speakers meet in a small environment where people can ask questions and get more information and hopefully get that one-on-one almost that you can't really get over the phone after you've made 100 phone calls. So we're working on setting those up, and our first one will be in September, so stay tuned. It will be posted on our website and our Facebook page as well.
Awesome. I know, and you know what, if you've watched the show at all, we're extremely interactive. I want to open it up to questions and comments,
Absolutely.
but I do have to tell you, myself, my first special needs child, my first diagnosed through Alta Regional special needs child, we're filming, is now almost 15. And so so the need is so much greater. I was able to self-refer to Alta. I was able to get an appointment pretty quickly and things like that. But now I hear parents who are calling and there's a wait list of months and months and months. And I feel like that is directly correlated to the amount of need that grows every single year.
it does seem that the needs are growing. I think awareness is growing too. People are realizing my kid's struggling. Oh, there are things I can do about this.
Right.
And so it's far more normal now to seek out help than it used to be. But absolutely the system is overloaded by it. It is no doubt overloaded. We need more programs. We need more organizations. So yes, it can be complicated and time consuming.
Yes. Well, that's where you guys come in. That's awesome.
Yes, that's where we're hoping to help fill some of the gap.
Sure. So for all of you that are watching, I'm sure that we're getting lots of questions and comments. This is a very hot topic. What questions can we answer?
So we have one question asking if you would help kids with autism specifically.
Oh yes, our organization welcomes kids of absolutely all diagnoses. So autism, we have a lot of families that have multiple diagnoses, from autism and mental health disorders, from cerebral palsy to Down syndrome. So yes, everybody's welcome. Our support groups are for everybody.
All right. Then there's a question asking, is there an age requirement to ask for assistance?
That's a great question. So absolutely no, there is not. We have a number of families that we've talked to and spoken with who have children who are adults now, but with disabilities, and they attend our support groups as well.
Perfect.
That was my question, so I appreciate.
So which counties or districts do you represent?
So we serve the Sacramento and Placer County areas for the most part, again, because we are helping people connect with other resources and or helping people connect with a community to help them navigate. We don't have a very firm jurisdiction as far as that's concerned.
You know, one thing, I think the fact that you guys have rolled this out in this area, it's a very duplicatable type of service that could be provided in neighboring counties where somebody, wanting to kind of take the lead on that. And I'm sure if there's anyone watching, that's maybe in a neighboring county or has family or friends that would be in need of that in a neighboring county, definitely reach out to Laraine. And
yes, again, our support groups are such a wonderful, it's kind of the foundation of what we do, and we absolutely are looking to expand those. So to do so, we need, locations to hold the support groups at, although we do fundraisers to help pay for those fees, and volunteers. We need wonderful, amazing volunteers to help come hang out with the kiddos while we meet.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful what you guys do, and again, I just want to thank you for everything that you guys have done and just all the hours. And I know that there's probably been a lot of tears and a lot of
absolutely
emotion.
It's a process,
right?
We have one more question.
Yes.
Do you have workshops for families to look for possible disabilities so they can get ahead?
So we don't do any diagnosing,
right.
But if they have questions about diagnosis, I would encourage them to send me an email, give me a call, or even just come to one of our support groups and talk with other parents who have been in probably very similar situations. Yeah.
So I'll tell you guys a quick little story. With my son, when I first noticed that there was something that was different, in the way that he was interacting with me. He was a little guy, and I think he was maybe 2 years old, and I took him to his pediatrician, and I said, hey, I think there's something going on. I don't know if it's autism, because I was pretty familiar with autism at the time, and he had great eye contact, and certain things that made me think maybe it's not autism. But I said, I'd like to have him evaluated. And the pediatrician literally pulled his pants down and said, James, pull up your pants. And he attempted to pull his pants up, and she said, yeah, he's fine. He's not autistic. And so I immediately changed pediatricians, obviously, and that was the first thing I did. But second, I don't even remember how I learned that you can actually self-refer to Ulta Regional.
Yes.
So that was where I started, and I certainly didn't expect a diagnosis of autism.
I think one of the hardest parts of this process is we really look to those doctors and professionals to answer our questions about whether or not our kids have some special needs or are struggling in certain areas. I had a similar experience with my son, whose doctor just kept telling me, he's normal, he's normal.
Right.
And finally I just I need a referral right now.
Yeah.
You're going to give it to me. Fortunately I self-referred to some other things, but I would tell people, trust your instincts.
Right.
If you think something's going on, you're right. Something's going on. And you don't have to, if you get an answer from a doctor that you don't like, find a new one.
Right.
Same thing with therapists. I mean, we are taught to really respect and take for granted everything that all these professionals say, and most of them are wonderful, but they are not always right. And
Right.
so you really have to trust your gut. I mean, I would say follow what you think is right and make sure you've taken all the steps, done all the evaluations so that you're comfortable with the response.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything that we haven't covered today that you wanted to touch on?
I don't think so. I would say there's one other little story to our name.
Yes.
And My Ears to Hear is kind of an interesting name. It's a little different, but one of the things that I've experienced with my special needs kids, especially for my daughter, is she has had so many struggles emotionally, and sometimes I just feel like she's just crying out for us to hear her.
Yeah.
She just wants us to hear her and to know that she's struggling and to help her.
Right.
And so My Ears to Hear is we're trying to offer a way to hear and see the needs of our kids, and then to find the best way to reach those needs, and do what we can to help them along. So that's a little bit about our name.
Yes.
And we would love to see anyone at our support groups. We are always in need of additional funding sources. If you have an organization or a company that would like to sponsor us, we would be thrilled. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. But yeah, we're going to just keep on keeping on because the need is so huge, and I will continue to be inspired every day by the amazing families that I meet who just keep on. They keep fighting and doing what they can, and they are so very inspiring.
Now, if somebody did want to do like a reoccurring monthly donation or something, is there a link on your website where they could set that up?
Yes, absolutely. So we do have the donation option on our website.
Yeah.
Then you have the option to set up a regular donation method. We do have a Facebook page. We like to post on there some inspirational, interesting articles. There's donation options through there as well.
So if you're watching and you have any interest in helping this organization, which I'm guessing that most of you do, if not all, whatever the donation amount is, there's no amount that's too small. If $5 a month is what you can do it. If $100 a month is what you can do it. I certainly encourage it. I think that, again, the service is just, you can't put a price tag on what this means to the families that are being supported.
And we are continuing to grow. We started off really small, and so all donations go towards making it possible for us to do more, especially as an all-volunteer organization. So don't forget the volunteering. If you're interested in getting involved in any way, we're always looking for people who want to help us set up new programs. If you have an idea that you think would be amazing and serve your community well, get in contact with me. We would love to talk to you.
I love that. Well, so Laraine, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Was there something else? No, okay. I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and again for all that you do. And again, for those of you watching, we'll go ahead and post the direct contact to the website for My Ears to Hear in the comments, and we encourage you to get involved. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great week.